Imagine a world where quiet moments are unsettling, where a lack of sensory input feels almost unbearable. A reality where every second needs to be filled with sound, movement, and diversion, lest people feel disoriented. Understand that this isn't some futuristic scenario, it's our current existence. We're living in an age of endless amusement, with a constant influx of new videos, music releases, game launches, streaming series, and notifications every second. The contemporary mind is overwhelmed by sensory input, yet we label it as liberation. But is it genuinely freedom, or has entertainment become our new form of subjugation? Consider this. When was the last time you sat in complete silence without reaching for your device? When did you last permit boredom to simply exist and unfold? What if boredom isn't an adversary, but rather the wellspring of brilliance? Throughout history, brilliant minds from Aristotle to Nietzsche viewed contemplation as humanity's pinnacle activity. Today, contemplation has been supplanted by consumption. Before we delve deeper, if you appreciate these profound discussions, please subscribe to the channel, like, and share this video. Your support helps us connect with more individuals seeking truth in a chaotic world. Stay with me until the end, as the concluding insight in this video could fundamentally alter your perception of entertainment. Let's examine how our reliance on entertainment wasn't accidental, but rather a carefully, subtly, and deliberately engineered process. The human brain evolved in environments of scarcity, not abundance. Our predecessors strived to secure food, shelter, and purpose. Presently, the struggle has shifted from survival to attention. The entertainment sector uncovered a profound truth. The very mechanisms essential for our survival, reward, inquisitiveness, novelty, can be hijacked. Each scroll, every alert, every cliffhanger ending to an episode activates the identical dopamine circuits that once motivated us to hunt and explore. The outcome is a populace that is overstimulated yet unfulfilled. Consider how frequently people claim, "I lack time to read," yet somehow manage to binge-watch an entire series over a single weekend. We're not facing a scarcity of time. We're facing a scarcity of attention. And attention functions as the currency of consciousness. Neil Postman, in his prophetic work, Amusing Ourselves to Death, warned that our trajectory wasn't towards Orwell's tyrannical dystopia, but rather Huxley's nightmare of pervasive distraction. A world where individuals willingly relinquish their liberty, not due to coercion, but because they are endlessly entertained. The tragedy lies in the fact that Postman wrote this before the advent of the internet, smartphones, and algorithmic content. Were he alive today, he might observe, "We've moved far beyond mere amusement. We now venerate it." Ask yourself, how often do we consume entertainment not out of genuine desire, but because we find the alternative, silence or inactivity, intolerable? There's a crucial distinction between watching a film for inspiration and aimlessly scrolling because quietness feels excruciating. The former enriches the mind, the latter erodes it. The philosopher Theodor Adorno, a member of the Frankfurt School, recognized this peril long ago. He described the culture industry as a system where art transforms into a commodity, creativity is mass-produced, and audiences are conditioned, not inspired. In this context, entertainment acts as a sedative, keeping society docile, predictable, and manageable. The ramifications are evident everywhere. Attention spans dwindle, conversations become superficial, and genuine ideas are supplanted by fleeting trends. The boundary between valuable information and mere distraction blurs, and humanity gradually loses its capacity for deep thought. We begin to confuse being informed with being wise. But here's the unsettling reality. Constant entertainment doesn't merely render us passive, it actively reshapes our brains. Studies in cognitive psychology demonstrate that excessive stimulation diminishes our ability to maintain focus, delay gratification, and even experience authentic joy in ordinary moments. The more we crave stimulation, the less capable we become of finding genuine meaning. So, reflect. Are you genuinely entertained, or are you enslaved by entertainment? Because every instance we escape boredom with a mere click, we solidify the habit of avoiding depth. And depth is precisely where truth resides. We often envision societal decline as a dramatic event, an empire collapsing, a culture crumbling, a civilization in ruins. However, decline frequently commences subtly, not with conflict, but with distraction. The Romans had bread and circuses. We have Netflix and TikTok. And just as Rome declined when entertainment eclipsed virtue, we too may be nearing a cultural breaking point. In the subsequent segment, we will explore how this dependency not only affects individuals, but reshapes entire societies. We'll examine how entertainment has become a modern instrument of control, and why liberating ourselves from it might represent the most revolutionary act of our era. When we observe major historical movements, civilizations ascend not through comfort, but through hardship. Societies emerge from a foundation of discipline, vision, and self-sacrifice. Yet they often unravel when these core attributes are supplanted by indulgence, diversion, and indifference. This isn't just a poetic notion. It's a recurring pattern in history. The ancient Greeks recognized this vulnerability. Plato, in the Republic, illustrated society's descent into disorder as pleasure replaces higher pursuits. When citizens prioritize amusement and personal comfort over virtue or truth, the moral and intellectual framework supporting their culture begins to erode. He labeled this the tyranny of desire, a gradual erosion of wisdom through self-gratification. Our contemporary world appears to be in this very phase. Entertainment has ceased to be an enhancement to life. It has become its focal point. An average individual now absorbs more media in a single day than an 18th century scholar might have in a year. But what exactly are we consuming? An unending stream of images, sounds, and emotions, not designed to stimulate thought, but to stifle it. Aldous Huxley, the philosopher, foresaw that future oppression wouldn't emanate from the state, but from pleasure itself. He imagined a populace that would embrace its subjugation, perpetually diverted by entertainment, thereby losing the capacity for critical thinking. This prediction has, with alarming precision, come to pass in our current era. Consider how our electronic devices sculpt our perception of reality, conditioning us to crave constant stimulation. Every few seconds, we scroll, swipe, or click, perpetually chasing the next novelty. Yet, beneath this surface of pleasure lies a darker truth: dependence. The brain adapts, requiring increasing stimulation to achieve the same level of satisfaction. What was once enjoyable becomes a necessity, and what becomes necessary evolves into addiction. Genuine entertainment, in its purer form, was once art, a reflection of the human condition. Figures like Shakespeare, Beethoven, and Michelangelo crafted works that elevated consciousness rather than dulling it. In stark contrast, mass entertainment functions via algorithms, not inspiration. Its concern isn't meaning, but engagement. And in this new economic landscape, engagement is merely another term for capture. Observe how even information has transformed into entertainment. News is presented as a spectacle, education as a performance, and spirituality as a fleeting trend. Everything must be entertaining, quick, and shareable. The world morphs into a perpetual theater of distraction, and we, the audience, remain perpetually seated. Isn't it peculiar how silence now instills fear? How individuals employ background noise just to drift off to sleep? We've forgotten that silence isn't emptiness, it's presence. Silence is the prerequisite for thought, and thought is the bedrock of freedom. Without it, we become intellectually inert, waiting for others to dictate our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. This represents the true peril. Not that entertainment amuses, but that it supplants introspection. When we lose the capacity for silent contemplation, we lose our ability to truly know ourselves. And a society incapable of thought is a society easily manipulated. The Roman philosopher Seneca wisely stated, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." How profoundly accurate these words resonate in the digital age. We are universally connected, yet truly present nowhere. We track the lives of strangers while neglecting our own. We are stimulated by a myriad of illusions, yet starved of a single truth. Reflect on the impact this has on our culture's creativity. True creative endeavors demand space, boredom, and solitude, the very states we now dread. Without them, art becomes derivative, music devolves into mere noise, and ideas are merely recycled fragments of past meaning. The contemporary artist often competes not for depth, but for attention. And when art becomes a battle for attention, culture loses its very essence. This decline, however, is not accidental. There's an underlying economic rationale. Entertainment serves to keep the populace compliant. A distracted population questions less, consumes more, and demands little. In a world governed by attention, distraction emerges as the most profitable commodity. The more entertained we are, the less we challenge the status quo. This is why philosopher Herbert Marcuse described modern society as one-dimensional. He contended that technology and mass media reduce human experience to mere consumption. People no longer seek truth, but comfort. They no longer ask what is right, but what feels good. Consequently, the individual dissolves into the crowd, entertained, but ultimately hollow. Ask yourself, when did entertainment last genuinely inspire you? Not just amuse you, but fundamentally change you. Can you recall a work of art, a film, or a song that ignited something profound within you? Now compare that to the vast amount of time spent consuming content that leaves you utterly unmoved. That hollowness is not accidental, it is by design. And yet, within that very emptiness lies the seed of awakening. For once you finally recognize the numbness, you begin to seek meaning anew. The soul, even buried beneath the cacophony, still yearns for quiet. It still recalls the sensation of depth. In the upcoming segment, we'll delve further into the psychological elements of this widespread phenomenon. We'll explore how the pervasive habit of seeking amusement fundamentally alters our thought processes, diminishes our resolve, and ultimately contributes to a widespread descent into mediocrity. Crucially, we will reveal strategies to regain control of your mental landscape in a world specifically engineered for distraction. To truly grasp the extent to which leisure activities reshape our minds, we need to look beyond cultural influences and examine the underlying psychology. The human brain, remarkable as it is, was not initially designed to handle the sheer volume of stimulation we encounter daily. Our ancestors thrived in environments characterized by scarcity, limited food, minimal noise, and restricted information. The contemporary world, in stark contrast, inundates us with an overwhelming surplus. We have entered a period of cognitive excess, a deluge of sensory input that paradoxically leaves us intellectually impoverished. Neuroscience offers a straightforward yet profound insight. The brain adapts to what it experiences repeatedly. When constantly trained to seek novelty, it gradually loses the ability to find contentment in quiet moments. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with motivation and reward, becomes overstimulated by a continuous stream of minor external triggers: notifications, short video clips, memes, brief broadcasts, and sensational headlines. Each scrolling motion provides a tiny reward. Every like sends a subtle chemical message encouraging further engagement. Over time, the brain begins to crave stimulation, not for enjoyment, but as a perceived necessity for functioning. The focus shifts from pleasure to merely avoiding discomfort. Boredom becomes intolerable because it highlights the emptiness we've been attempting to escape. This explains why many individuals find it impossible to remain silent, struggle to read a single page without checking their phones, or cannot complete a thought before a new one interrupts it. The consequence is a fragmentation of attention, identity, and consciousness itself. We become fractured across countless ephemeral impressions, preventing us from forming genuine connections or engaging in sustained contemplation. This is more than a personal challenge. It represents a civilizational crisis. A society incapable of focus cannot innovate, and without innovation, progress stalls. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who coined the term flow, described it as a state of complete absorption where one's skills perfectly match a given challenge, causing time to seemingly cease. Flow is the birthplace of genius. Yet entertainment undermines flow because it demands no exertion, no struggle, and no mastery. It provides the illusion of experience without the substance of accomplishment. This explains why the modern mind often feels perpetually occupied, yet strangely hollow, constantly engaged, but rarely truly alive. We scroll, consume, and react, but rarely truly think. Our mental energy, once directed towards creation and reflection, is now primarily spent managing distractions. Philosopher Byung-Chul Han labels this the burnout society, where individuals are exhausted not by labor, but by excessive stimulation, an abundance of input, and a dearth of meaning. This has significant repercussions for our inner lives. The addiction to entertainment not only diminishes focus, but also erodes empathy. When every image, narrative, or tragedy becomes just another piece of content, our emotional sensitivity dwindles. We witness suffering through screens, yet our capacity to feel lessens. When everything transforms into a spectacle, nothing retains its sacredness. Social media has even turned human emotion into a performance. People no longer simply feel, they exhibit feeling. Joy, sadness, and outrage all become commodities in the attention economy. Philosopher Guy Debord presciently warned of this in his work The Society of the Spectacle, where he cautioned that in modern times the authentic world is supplanted by mere representation. And once representation eclipses reality, truth itself becomes irrelevant. Consider how often you engage with something purely because others do. How frequently do you consume without genuine intent? Not out of genuine interest, but simply because it's available. This is how mass entertainment subtly molds thought, not through overt control, but through fostering conformity. When everyone watches the same broadcasts, chuckles at identical jokes, fears the same adversaries, and craves the same pleasures, individuality dissolves into a collective trance. The irony is that most people mistake this for freedom, believing that a multitude of choices equates to liberty. However, 1,000 superficial choices do not lead to genuine freedom. They merely deepen the illusion of autonomy. True freedom begins when you consciously choose what not to consume. This addiction also weakens willpower, which is fundamental to personal growth. Each time we opt for effortless pleasure over a meaningful challenge, we condition our brains to shy away from discomfort. We habituate ourselves to passivity, and passivity, when multiplied across millions, culminates in cultural stagnation. Nietzsche once cautioned that comfort is the adversary of greatness, believing that struggle, solitude, and even suffering were the crucibles in which the human spirit is forged. Yet in this age of entertainment, we evade all three. We relentlessly pursue constant comfort, instant gratification, endless distractions, and perpetual pleasure. And in doing so, we forfeit the very qualities that define our humanity: resilience, depth, and purpose. Entertainment, when used judiciously, can be a source of inspiration. However, when we engage with it without purpose, it transforms us into mere onlookers in our own existence. We turn into passive participants, observing the world unfold without actively shaping it. We start to conflate genuine living with mere observation. So consider this. Are you truly crafting your own narrative? Or are you just watching someone else's? Are you developing your intellect? Or are you letting it be shaped by algorithms designed to keep you endlessly scrolling? The stark reality is that every moment surrendered to trivial entertainment is a moment stolen from your personal growth. The time squandered in diversions is time you could have dedicated to evolving, creating, learning, or connecting with others. Nevertheless, hope persists. The human psyche, regardless of how deeply conditioned, always possesses the capacity to awaken. Awareness itself is the initial act of defiance. Once you recognize the mechanisms of manipulation, you can step beyond their influence. The question isn't whether entertainment is inherently bad. It's whether we've lost the ability to engage with it intentionally. In the concluding section, we will explore a path forward, how to reclaim your focus, rejuvenate your intellect, and rediscover the profound power of dedicated attention. And the ultimate insight might just redefine what it genuinely means to be alive in an era captivated by amusement. To recover from the grip of entertainment addiction, we must first grasp what it has usurped from us: quietude, profound insight, presence, and the sacred bond we once shared with our own thoughts. Humans were not engineered to exist as inactive recipients of incessant noise. We were designed for imagination, contemplation, and creation. The tragedy of our era lies in our exchange of creation for consumption, mindfulness for distraction, and wisdom for mere amusement. Yet within every addiction resides the potential for profound change. The very mind enslaved by constant stimulation can awaken to clarity. The initial step is recognition. The instant we perceive entertainment not as an innocuous pleasure, but as a psychological framework engineered to command our attention, it becomes impossible to ignore. Ask yourself, who benefits from your lack of concentration? Each second you spend immersed in meaningless content enriches someone else, someone who profits from your internal disquiet. Your time is invaluable currency. Your focus is precious gold. The contemporary world trades in human consciousness, and attention has emerged as the planet's most coveted asset. These corporations of distraction aren't selling products, they are marketing you, the viewer, to advertisers. And the price is your perceptive awareness. The philosopher Alan Watts once declared, "You are under no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago." This implies that you can initiate transformation right now. Awareness shatters the chains. The subsequent action is to embrace silence once more. Silence isn't emptiness. It's the fertile ground where truth emerges. In stillness, the mind reorganizes itself, heals, and reclaims its strength. Try dedicating a single day to being without entertainment. No screens, no music, no ambient sounds. Observe what transpires. Initially, the quietude might feel unbearable, as it forces you to confront yourself, your anxieties, desires, and confusion. But if you persevere, something extraordinary unfolds. Clarity begins to surface. The turmoil of distraction subsides, and you start to truly hear your own thoughts again. This is the wellspring of intelligence, not information, but self-reflection. Great thinkers, from Marcus Aurelius to Carl Jung, understood this intimately. They recognized that wisdom stems not from external stimulation, but from internal observation. Jung famously wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." The dependence on entertainment keeps humanity in a dreamlike state. Reflection awakens it. To cultivate an intelligent and mindful culture anew, we must restore our connection with intellectual depth. Read books that challenge your perspectives. Watch films that resonate deeply, not simply entertain. Listen to music that evokes genuine emotion, rather than just eliciting a reaction. Seek art that broadens your understanding of life, rather than merely diverting you from it. This does not advocate for outright rejection of all entertainment. Authentic art and storytelling have always been fundamental to human existence. What truly matters is the nature of our engagement, conscious or unconscious. Mindful entertainment nurtures. Thoughtless consumption dulls. The dividing line between the two is awareness. We must also learn to appreciate boredom. Again, boredom is not a void, it's a conduit. It links the restless surface of the mind to its deeper layers. Many of history's most profound insights were conceived during moments of quiet contemplation and solitude. Einstein's theory of relativity, Newton's law of gravity, Dostoevsky's profound novels, all emerged not from clamor, but from deep reflection. In a world that champions perpetual excitement, The capacity for stillness is an act of defiance. Every instance you choose introspection over distraction, you reclaim your inherent power. Every time you opt to create rather than simply consume, you strengthen your intellect. Every moment of silence you embrace becomes a declaration of liberation. However, there's a more profound spiritual dimension to this metamorphosis. At its core, the allure of entertainment is a symptom of a deeper craving, the yearning for significance. Individuals often chase constant stimulation, not out of contentment, but from a sense of inner vacuum. Entertainment frequently serves as a facade to avoid confronting this internal emptiness. However, this void isn't an adversary. Rather, it acts as a gateway. Ceasing to flee from this emptiness reveals that what you were attempting to satisfy wasn't an absence, but a space intended for pure awareness. Significance isn't something the world bestows upon you. It's a creation born from your own consciousness. The more attuned you become to the present moment, the more profound life feels, even in its simplest forms. So, how do we advance? We initiate change incrementally. Devote 1 hour daily, traditionally spent on entertainment, to quiet contemplation or introspection. Choose reading over aimless scrolling, walking over passive watching, and creation over mere consumption. Gradually, your mind will commence its recovery. Your concentration will be restored, and life will reclaim a richness that entertainment can never mimic, the very essence of reality itself. On a broader societal level, as more people individually awaken, cultural paradigms begin to shift. While cultural erosion might originate in the mind of one diverted individual, its revitalization also starts there, through someone who opts for mindfulness. Every instance of deliberate attention acts as a flicker in the darkness, reminding us that intellect, ingenuity, and insight are not lost, merely dormant. The ultimate insight is this: entertainment itself isn't the problem. Oblivion is. When we lose sight of our true selves, we become easily amused. Yet, when we genuinely recall that we are beings of profound depth and inherent capability, no diversion can shackle us. The remedy for dependence isn't abstinence, it's enlightenment. To awaken means to perceive with clarity, and once you've truly seen, retreating into unawareness becomes impossible. Therefore, the next time you feel an urge to drown out silence with clamor, pause. Hear. Beneath the currents of distraction, your authentic self patiently awaits, not for amusement, but for its own awakening.